Oh, I found it. With the success of part 1 of my Clone Wars retrospective, if you haven't seen that yet, I do recommend you check it out, and letting some time pass, it felt like now was the time for part 2. As stated before in part 1, with a series as massive as this, it is impossible to cover everything in 1 or even 2 videos. For part 2, we are focusing on perhaps the most important part of the entire series. Do you need a hint? Before getting into this, please note that there will be minor spoilers included.
I'm just saying.
Before getting into today's part 2, I'd like to thank my Patreon supporters for pledging and helping develop a backbone for my channel. As a channel, we have grown so much in 8 months, and the hope, with your help, is to continue to grow more. Patreon supporters go a long way into directly supporting the quality of videos, as well as simply providing a nice pat on the back. For as low as $1, cheaper than a cavity-ridden Coke at Walmart, you can pat me on the back and say, "Atta tot." All the support goes a long way. For now, let's get back to part 2.
It's about time.
The importance of the clones cannot be understated in both this series and the universe as a whole.
Execute Order 66.
The prequel series was a rise in evil, primarily Palpatine as it was in the iconic figure Darth Vader. Lucas compared the rise of Palpatine to that of Adolf Hitler during Nazi Germany, both of which were granted emergency powers and received an incredible army to do, well, just about anything. While the theme is grand and the concept is quite interesting, it lacked execution. So why do I say that? 1. As Obi-Wan mentioned in A New Hope,
You fought in the Clone Wars?
Anakin and himself fought in the famed Clone Wars. What this entitled, what this meant, we knew little, but it sounded cool and helped share to the audience that these two weren't just friends, but brothers on a literal battlefield. Characters should be more than just looking cool.
Hey, what's that supposed to mean?
2. Lucas wrote himself into a hole in creating the Separatist army.
Ready to go. Nice fresh blocks of pencils. All set. All I need is an idea.
How do you ask? Battle droids are all developed quickly in a Ford-like factory. They die easily and are nothing but cannon fodder. To have something to match both intensity and size couldn't come from an army of legitimately created humans. Sorry, clones. Thus, he created an army of impressive size in the clones developed on the planet of Kamino. 3. In creating the clones, a group of military-minded creations capable of being copied almost infinitely, and a Chevy factory of battle droids, Lucas created 2 disposable armies. As an audience, this lacks depth of connection. While one could argue that was never really the point of either army, as they were merely pawns to the rise of power in Palpatine, it still created a catastrophic war. Furthermore, the clones would go on to really have more of a connection to the universe with the Order 66 clause. So Lucas effectively brought in disposable soldiers that had large ramifications on the universe and contributed little to no emotional connection to the audience outside of cool visual shots.
That's real. That's real. Real. That's real.
They were much more confident in their ability to do exciting shots.
Got very fast in their ability to develop very, very complicated shots in a very short amount of time.
Because we were pulling in a lot of new kind of camera moves and a lot of new shot angles.
When I said, look, I just want some great battle shots, I let them sort of have their own way with some of those shots. Time and effort and creativity into it, and came up with some amazingly complicated and interesting shots.
They were churning out 30, 40 shots a day.
And then we started to build other shots around those shots.
Revenge of the Sith tried to combat this by doing minor things like Anakin trying to save the clones being attacked in the beginning,
I'm gonna go help them out.
or simply doing something as human as certain clones, primarily the commanders and captains, having names. Still, we as an audience weren't attached to these characters emotionally, and therefore the war lacked any real significance to us. Enter Henry Gilroy and Dave Filoni. While my comments may come off as digs at the prequels, and some are, let it be known that the Clone Wars series did have the benefit of over 100 episodes to develop these connections. Developing the clones into living, breathing human-like creatures was one of those connections.
Your faces I wish to see.
There's not much to look at here, sir. We all share the same face.
Deceive you, eyes can.
Simple things as giving each a different look, beards, different haircuts, and even going as far as to make each with different personalities or traits.
Looks like we got ourselves a batch of shinies, Commander. Shinies, sir?
These different traits and personalities of course deviate to unique storylines, which flesh out every clone to be more than just a disposable pawn in the universe.
Okay, Fives, we'll sort this out.
You don't believe me!
In episode 10 of season 2, you meet Cut LaQuain,
Cut LaQuain. And I'm just a simple farmer.
a clone that deserted after his gunship was shot down by Separatists, leaving his entire squad but himself dead.
They fired on us with everything they had. We crashed. Most of us were either dead or severely injured.
LaQuain went on to have a family and actively defied the lifestyle he was created for. Despite creating a family and living his own life separate of being a pawn, LaQuain was haunted of the guilt of such decision. His interaction with the ideal clone, Captain Rex, is a great argument on the purpose of clones and the war in general. LaQuain, despite being created in practically a lab, sees himself more than just a clone, but a being with his own ability to choose. The flip side of this is Clone Sergeant Slick. While LaQuain defied the orders of the Republic to fulfill his own life, Slick did so because he didn't believe in the Order or war. He believed that him and his fellow clone troopers were being used as slaves in their war against the Separatists.
But she offered me something more important. Something you wouldn't understand. Freedom!
This is an important episode to show not only the fact that the clones weren't entirely obedient to command, but the lengths at which the Republic would go to maintain the ideology of their military might when they covered up the traitor. Of course, this is a mild, perhaps on-the-nose reference to both government and military ordeals going back since the dawn of time. The culmination of these ideas really comes through in particular with the Domino Squad. The generalized belief when you see the Galactic Army, one especially created through a cloning process, is perfection. That isn't the case with Domino Squad, consisting of Echo, Cut Up, Fives, and Droid Bait. Despite being born and bred for battle, the four have difficult time working together and passing their final tests to become troopers. Without spoiling anything, like I have in the past, Domino Squad goes on to have a pretty sizable part in the war, including one of my favorite episodes, Rookies. Here, Domino Squad is paired up with famed clones Commander Cody and Captain Rex to defend an outpost on the remote moon of Rishi. Rookies in particular is proof of the concept of the show, the writing, and the difference in spending time developing these clones.
Shinies, sir? That's right. Your armor. It's shiny and new. Just like you.
The heroic stand of the clones has an emotional impact, one that you don't necessarily have watching Attack of the Clones or even Revenge of the Sith.
Your new unit is lucky to have you. I'd be proud to fight beside you anytime, anywhere.
Of course, going into such deep discussion about the clones, it's a bit unfair to just now talk about the ideal clone himself, Captain Rex. Clone voice actor D. Bradley Baker refers to Rex as the archetypal clone, and that's prevalent throughout the series.
You know a Jedi won't kill an unarmed man?
I'm no Jedi.
Despite Rex being the epitome of a good soldier, he does enough to justify his actions as being his own person. This ideology was shown most true during his encounter with LaQuain.
Still, the name has to make you feel unique, especially in an army where everyone looks like you and talks like you. Actually, I've never really thought about it.
His scorn attitude changes to sympathy. Such change and evolution of the character's nature is what makes each clone feel more unique than, let's say, a battle droid.
You swore an oath to the Republic. You have a duty. I have a duty, you're right, but it's to my family.
Captain Rex quickly became a series favorite with fans, and it's easy to see why.
Yeah, I bet you sold out your brothers for some real shiny coin.
Once more, without ruining anything, Captain Rex's journey as a character is a series highlight, and becomes one of the more intriguing characters in the universe due to his appearance in Rebels and his appearance in other Star Wars media.
We were sent by Ahsoka Tano.
Ahsoka Tano.
Perhaps the most interesting revelation about the clones is their concept and creation. This goes even beyond the creation on the planet of Kamino, but for the mere fact that they are clones of Jango Fett, the father of Boba Fett. Boba Fett's placement in the universe is simply fascinating for the fact his small part in the original trilogy would have a massive impact on so many aspects of the universe, including the creation of his father, that kind of sounds weird, the world building for Mandalore, and the design of the clones themselves. Someone with just mere moments of screen time would have one of the largest impacts on the universe. One of these aspects, the creation of the culture and the way Mandalore, will be explored in future episodes. The Clone Wars series' impact on the Star Wars universe cannot be stated enough. I'd feel confident in stating that any viewer of Attack of the Clones or Revenge of the Sith didn't have much emotional impact or feeling with the death of the clones. Like most large, big budget films, either with good guys or alien creatures, we as an audience do not have emotional stakes to something that really doesn't have any motives, feel, or look even real. Clones were merely cool looking guys with guns, but thanks to this show, the writing team, and of course, Lucas himself, they became something much more. This impact would go on to add much more meaning when Order 66 is activated, and in my opinion, adds a layer of narrative to the prequel trilogy. When watching, you now realize these are soldiers, living and breathing, that have independent stories. The Clone Wars once again proves its important place in the universe, and I'm here to celebrate every moment of it. Thanks for watching, guys. Part 2 has been a long time coming, and I hope you all enjoy it. Big shout out to my Patreon supporters. I hope more of you guys consider supporting my Patreon page, as my part 1 is still being held up in question by Disney. I look forward to conversing with you all over this one. See you guys soon.